Hi everyone, welcome to Sunny Day Discussions. I am Sunny Day. Today I want to talk about, are we on the verge of a political awakening? Or are we on the verge of the death of democracy? The choice is ours. I have a feeling, and I could be wrong, but I have a feeling that we're on the verge or in the midst of a political awakening. And the reason I think that is because in my generation, I am a old millennial and a young Gen Xer. And while my generation was very much aware of social issues, racism, homophobia, that kind of a thing, we just didn't pay much attention to actual politics. However, this generation, Gen Z and younger, and young millennials, are aware of all the social issues that are happening, but they're also more aware of the world around them and the policies that are being put in place. They grew up in a time where it's completely normal to have gay friends, homosexual friends, partners, transgender friends and partners. And that's completely normal to them, as it should be. So they're not going to sit by and watch as Republicans strip those rights away from the people that they know and love. And it's happening all over the country. They grew up in a time when they have to be afraid, no matter where they go, of being gunned down, because mass shootings are on the rise. We're having more than one a day. They're not safe in school, church, malls, concerts. They're not safe. And they're sick of it. And they're going to vote accordingly. They're not going to sit by and watch Republicans take the rights away from their friends. They will vote accordingly. They're not going to sit back and watch Republicans say, we don't need gun reform. Everything's good. More guns equals safer. And they're going to vote accordingly. They are seeing women's rights being stripped. And they're going to vote accordingly. They're watching as rights that I grew up with and took advantage of, or took for granted, being stripped away. So now my daughter, who is 18, has less rights than I did when I was 18. And they're going to vote accordingly. They're seeing the lack of action on climate. And they're going to vote accordingly. They're seeing the world falling apart. And they're going to vote for the person they believe can help fix it. They're seeing the genocide in Gaza. And they're not okay with it. And they're going to vote accordingly. They're seeing the fact that if you have a full-time job and are only paid minimum wage, you can't survive. You can't have your own apartment. You can't live with a full-time minimum wage job. And they're seeing that if you want to go to school and improve your education and your career prospects, you're going to be saddled with debt for the rest of your life. And they're going to vote accordingly. They're seeing the differences between the two parties. And they're not happy with either of the parties. They're seeing Republicans want to strip away the rights of everyone but white Christian men. They're seeing voting rights being stripped from minority communities. They're seeing racial abuse from people in Congress, from people in positions of power. They're seeing blatant racism. They're seeing blatant sexism and homophobia. And they're going to vote accordingly. And they're seeing that Republicans want to take us back to the 50s, pre-civil rights, where no one has as much rights as straight white men. And they're not going to stand for it. They're seeing establishment Democrats say, we want to maintain the status quo. We want to get things back to normal after Trump. Well, what the fuck was normal? There was no normal. We were struggling. We're on a downhill cycle. And they're going to vote accordingly. They're seeing progressives being the only ones that are standing up to fight for climate change. And they're seeing Democrats kind of falter on it. You know, they say a lot, they talk a good game, but when it comes down to actually doing it, Biden's drilling more oil than Trump ever did. Yet he was going to be the climate president. And they're seeing that. And I honestly think that this might be the end of the two-party system, because people are not happy with either party. And they have every right to not be happy, because the way our system is set up right now, it's not benefiting the people. It's benefiting corporations, banks, and the wealthy, while the normal people are being left behind to struggle and starve and live with massive debt. And they're seeing this, and they're not okay with it, and they will vote accordingly. They are seeing the corruption in politics. They are seeing that politicians are able to be bought by corporations and special interest groups, and knowing that those politicians will not be voting for the best interest of the country. They will be voting for the best interest of those special interest groups and their donors. And they're not happy, and they will vote accordingly. They are seeing politicians, both sides of the aisle, profiting off of insider trading and nothing being done about it. And they will vote accordingly. They're waking up and seeing corruption in police departments, racism, blatant racism in police departments. They're waking up to that, and they want to see a change. And they will vote accordingly. And I know no one wants to vote for Biden again. Because, yeah, he's done a lot of great things, but he's also let us all down multiple times. But I have a feeling that when it comes down to it in 2024, they will end up voting for Biden because those are the only two options. And we know that if we don't vote for Biden, democracy is dead. Rights will be stripped away from every minority community. From every community, in fact. Trump doesn't care about his base. The only care he has for them is to get him reelected so that he can have ultimate power. So we will all hold our nose, vote for Biden, and then start the work to get the corruption out of our government by voting in people who want to see insider trading end, who want to see big money in politics end, who want to see corporations and banks not being able to bribe our politicians. We want to see our politicians doing the work for the people, not for big business and money. And so I think that's the awakening. And if I'm wrong and we're not on the verge of an awakening or in the midst of one, we might even be on the verge of the death of democracy. But I don't think so. I have faith that the largest voting bloc of people, the young people, Generation Z, millennials, see through the bullshit in Washington and are not going to put up with it anymore. They see the genocide in Gaza and are not okay with it because they haven't been brought up being brainwashed into thinking that Israel is perfect and untouchable. That because these are the descendants of people who survived the Holocaust, that they can then partake in an actual genocide with no repercussions. They're not okay with that. And the biggest fear I have is Biden's inaction and unwillingness to call out Israel. His blind loyalty to Netanyahu is wildly concerning. And I just hope that we realize that this is a short-term election cycle. If we just got to get Trump away and all MAGA out of places of power, then we can start eliminating a two-party system and start having a government that is actually for the people again. We can vote in politicians that are against, like I said, money in politics. We can vote those people in, and we can have a government that works for the people again. We just have to get through 2024. It's going to be a long, slow process, but I think we can do it. And I think that the awakening is happening. And I think that establishment politicians and Republicans should be nervous that their time is coming to an end. That the position and the direction that they want to take this country is not what the country wants. And that just is evidenced by the fact that a large majority of people want access to abortion rights. But the government's like, nah, I don't care. I think it's wrong, so therefore I'm going to push my ideologies on you. The majority of people want transgender people to have a normal life and just be people. But our government, conservative government, is saying, no, they're wrong. They're ungodly. They're sick. And they're stripping their rights. They want to see the people, the vast majority of people, want gun control. But again, conservatives are like, nah, no. More guns are safer. More guns are safer. We should be the safest fucking country in the world if that was the case. And they're going to vote accordingly. And they're seeing Democrats, corporate Democrats, block legislation that would stop insider trading. They're seeing corporate Democrats block legislation that would get money out of politics that progressives have put forward. And they're going to vote accordingly. So this, my friends, I believe, is the verge of we're in the midst of an awakening. And if politicians don't wake up with us, they're going to have to be voted out. We just have to get through 2024, and we have to get Trump gone and his influence over the Republican Party. Then we can work on having more than just two political parties like every other civilized nation in the world. Then we can work on voting in people who want Medicare for all, who want free college tuition. We used to have free college tuition. But then racists decided that they didn't want Black people to better themselves and get into positions where they could earn money and buy property and stuff like that. So they're like, let's make it expensive. That way the poor folk can get in. So like usual, our country rewards the wealthy, punishes the poor. And we are going to vote accordingly. So thank you. That's all I have for you today. If you like what I do, like, share, subscribe. Now vote. No matter how big, how small, how inconsequential the election is, your vote matters, and read everything you can get your hands on. Thank you, and I will see you next time.